Listen up, because when she opened her mouth, she didn't just speak, she scorched the air. But before the internet had a chance to blink, Todd Tucker dropped something so brutal, so personal, so final that the entire Bravo universe froze mid-heartbeat. What you're about to step into isn't petty noise, isn't staged chatter, isn't some recycled relationship saga. This is a father staring into a lens and confessing the unthinkable. Ace Blaze might not be mine. For one suspended heartbeat, reality stalled. Producers froze. Crew members forgot to breathe. Even the walls seemed to tremble. And when Todd's voice cracked as he whispered, "I want a full DNA test," on both of them, you could hear the world split open. This wasn't fury. This wasn't revenge. This was a man whose belief in everything had been shattered to the point he couldn't even trust the blood in his own home. And Candy, she didn't scream. She didn't lash out. She folded. Right there in that Bravo hallway, the same ground she once ruled with legacy and pride. Her purse slipped. Her hands shook. And with a breath barely holding together, she delivered the line that detonated online. "My children, he thinks my children aren't his." The bones of that marriage didn't just crack. They blew apart into betrayal, fingerprints, old ghosts, doubts, late-night messages, twisted timelines, and a DNA war nobody imagined. And tonight, we're stepping into the blast. But what came next blindsided every Bravo fan, every gossip blog, every courthouse source, and women with a story. Because the moment Todd Tucker and Candy Burris pressed their names on that document, another war came alive, one blow so vicious, so painfully personal, its shockwave ripped across Atlanta like a siren slicing through a sleeping city. Todd didn't flinch. Not a breath, not a tremor, not a heartbeat. He walked into his dim, echoing apartment, shut the door tight, and every secret he'd smothered for 10 long years burst loose inside his chest. He paced like a hunted thing, hands shaking, vision burning, replaying every argument, every cold pause, every explanation he once swallowed like poison. And then the whisper that had stalked him forever slammed into him with the force of a demolition crash. If she lied once, what else did she bury? What if Ace? What if Blaze were never mine at all? The thought repulsed him. The ache beneath it repulsed him more, but it clawed louder. He grabbed his phone with quivering fingers and unleashed the message that would kill whatever hope still flickered inside that home. "I want DNA verification. Both children. Do it immediately." The attorney answered within moments. But Todd only glared at the wall as if staring straight into a freshly dug grave. One he dreaded stepping toward, yet couldn't escape. His chest fluttered as he muttered under his breath, "If she fooled me once, she can fool me again." And then his thumb pressed send. The fuse was lit. Across the city, Candy walked into the Bravo Tower, wearing the smile she practiced, not the one she believed. She'd perfected appearing unshakable, even while splintering inside. But the message headed her way would rip that armor straight off her spirit. A worker rushed up to her, gripping a heavy sealed envelope. There was no shield, no protest, no gentle reassurance, only a long, hollow silence. Then the friend breathed, "Todd, if that doubt lives in you now, it has survived inside you for years." And something in Todd collapsed. Not in shouting, not in tears, but in a stunned, suffocating quiet. By sunrise, the courthouse vibrated with a pressure that sank straight into bone. Todd sat alone, jaw set like steel, eyes distant and rimmed with frost. Across from him sat Candy, pale and speechless, clutching Ace's kindergarten portrait as if it were the final breath she still owned. Her attorneys slid documents across the table. "He demands genetic proof. Let him pursue it. But understand this, he is placing 2 children on the line to soothe his fear." Todd's counsel didn't flinch. "Our client wants certainty." Candy lifted her gaze, her face carved by grief. "Truth or vengeance?" The gavel ripped through the room. "The court acknowledges the father's right to verification. Morality is not the measure here." Those words didn't sting, they annihilated. Because in that moment, everything shifted. Not her fame, not the contracts, not the empire, her children. And that was the boundary she believed no one would trespass. By noon, the internet was in flames. TMZ thundered, Todd Tucker launches paternity warfare. Full DNA demand submitted. The Shade Room fired back. Did Todd suspect the truth all this time? An Atlanta outlet blared, reality empire in genetic showdown. Children caught in the blast zone. Audiences spiraled. Some rallied behind Todd. Some clung to Candy. No one stayed steady. A viral post yelled, "Ace Blaze? None of this tracks. He's losing control." Another replied, "No, he finally snapped awake." Then Candy shattered on set. "This is savage," Wendy Oifo announced live. "This blew past divorce. This is psychological warfare, and the children are bleeding for it." Behind sealed doors, Andy Cohen messaged producers, "Don't stop filming. This is history breaking open." That night, Candy locked herself in her dressing room, gripping ultrasound photos, whispering apologies into the walls as tears soaked the floor beneath her trembling hands. Miles away, Todd recorded a memo from his car, his voice. Stripped of mercy. If she carries no shadows, a test won't shake her. He posted it and the internet exploded again. Because suddenly it wasn't about who was truthful. The real question became, how did affection decay this far? That a father now doubted the children he once rocked gently to sleep. The hurt didn't lessen. It stretched. By dawn, Atlanta wasn't murmuring about separation. They were whispering about the accusation, the type that shatters legacies, futures, reputations, and innocent hearts all together. And as sunlight bled across the skyline, Todd Tucker and Candy Burus were walking into chaos. Neither of them knew how to stand. Inside Bravo's headquarters, senior executives filled a dim meeting room, replaying raw footage from the night before. Candy, crumbling, Riley wrapped around her, staff scattering, cameras trembling. No one had a manual for scenes like that. This wasn't material. This wasn't numbers. This was heartbreak caught live. One producer sighed, "We can't air this." Another replied, "This is the core of the season." A third whispered, "That won't be our call." Meanwhile, Candy hadn't slept a second. She stayed hunched on her sofa, staring at emptiness, her voice stolen. Every blink replayed the line on that paper. Every inhale repeated Todd's sentence. If she has nothing to hide, she breathed into the silence. How do I protect them from their own father? Her phone kept blazing. Friends checking in, network people pushing for responses, relatives begging. When did love become venom? Her phone lit again. A viral post read, "If he's doubting the boys, something deeper is hiding." Another declared, "This family is collapsing live on camera." A third whispered, "Even as fiction, this would be unbearable." Candy squeezed her eyes shut as hot tears slid down her cheeks in quiet trails. The emergency hearing rose with the dawn, and the moment they stepped inside the courthouse, the atmosphere shifted dense. But one call shattered her all over again. It was Ace's school office. The teacher whispered softly, "Ace seems confused today. He asked if he'd done something wrong. He asked if his dad doesn't love him." Candy pressed her hand to her lips as panic clawed up her chest. This wasn't storylines anymore. This was tearing her babies apart across the city. Todd sat next to his attorney, scanning through documents, timelines, hotel logs, emails. He wasn't yelling now. He wasn't pacing. His silence was heavier. It was the calm that comes when a man has already pictured the darkest outcome. His lawyer pointed at a sheet. "Here's the Reno pass." She wasn't where she claimed. Todd offered a slow nod, as if his ribs already knew. "And this," she added, sliding another binder toward him, "is the producer she worked with for 8 weeks. His schedule lines up with everything you mentioned." Todd closed his eyes. Moments cracked open in his head. Candy joking too loudly in meetings, glowing at late-night alerts, dodging details, lighting up whenever that person's name appeared. "So I wasn't losing it," he muttered. The lawyer replied gently, "Suspicion isn't proof, but courts study behavior." Todd leaned back, staring at the ceiling as devastation froze him. "Those kids lived in my heartbeat," he said. "Then why go this far?" she asked. He didn't respond. Because he didn't have a reason. Was he reaching for clarity or falling into shadow? The next hearing overflowed. Lawyers, reporters, Bravo executives, and a judge who already wore exhaustion across his face. Todd walked in with a frozen expression while Candy entered shaking, one fist crushing a tissue, the other clutching a photo of Ace and Blaze as newborns. When the judge requested Todd to speak, he rose. Calm to calm. "I'm petitioning for DNA testing for both boys. Not for spite, not for vengeance, but for certainty. I need an answer." Candy's inhale broke. Her attorney shot up. "Your Honor, this is cruelty wrapped in procedure. My client gave these children breath, safety, devotion. This is an attack on her motherhood." Todd's counsel responded sharply, unrattled. "We've identified inconsistencies in trips, calls, and outside entanglements. This did not appear from nowhere." Candy erupted, her voice slicing through the courtroom like thunder. "You think I deceived you? You think I forged our family? Todd, look at me. Look at me and say you doubt those boys belong to you." Todd stayed still. He couldn't raise his eyes. And that quiet cut deeper than any filing. The judge slammed his gavel. Order. Personal pain aside, a petition is before the court. The court will review initial evidence before issuing a ruling. Candy folded inward. Her attorney caught her mid-fall. Todd's tension coiled tighter until a vein jumped beneath his skin. Outside, the press swarmed like thunderclouds. Cameras exploded. Voices hurled questions. Candy, did you betray him? Were you hiding something? Todd, are you doubting your boys? Who's the artist? Why Vegas? Is this revenge? Candy broke again, sobbing into Riley's arms. Riley stepped forward, shouting, "Back away from her." Todd pushed through the uproar silently, features carved from stone, breath sharp and uneven. By night's end, the footage dominated every platform. Audiences were furious, shaken, torn in half. Some condemned Todd, some defended him. Some dragged Candy mercilessly, while others murmured the terrifying possibility, what if both were victims? The rumors got darker. Forums exhumed old speculation. Past clips resurfaced. Shots of Candy beside the collaborator flooded timelines. Old moments of Todd's discomfort reignited debates. The Shade Room posted a split screen. Todd on one side, Ace and Blaze on the other, captioned, "Spot the resemblance?" Internet judges. It was brutal, cold, endless. That night, in silent shadows, Candy watched her world collapse on screen. She wiped her cheeks and whispered, "Todd, how could you wound them like this?" Across the city, Todd stared at a photo of Ace gripping his hand. He closed his eyes, guilt piercing straight through him. "If I'm mistaken, I won't survive it." But compassion had vanished. Only iron stayed, slicing everyone in reach. Then the next shockwave landed. A Bravo staffer leaked buried footage from years back. Todd quietly questioning Candy in their kitchen after Ace's birth. "Candy, why won't you look at me? Why does something feel off?" And she fired back, "Stop creating problems." The moment detonated online. Millions replayed it. Millions debated. Millions chose sides. This wasn't a household anymore. It was a war zone. Because just when viewers thought the nightmare had peaked, Atlanta tore open and swallowed whatever hope either still carried. The world had seen splits, custody chaos, whispered infidelity, never a family dissolving on camera with this type of unfiltered ruin. 3 nights after the leaked clip scorched the internet, Todd stood alone in a dim conference room, staring at empty walls as if they might confess what he couldn't articulate. His hands were fists, knuckles cutting into skin until pain threatened to break through. His attorney entered quietly, an envelope pressed tight. "They're pushing for a fast-track hearing," she said. "For what?" "The kids, emotional impact, public fallout, every consequence." Todd didn't react. He only exhaled, slow, sharp, like grief hiding behind armor. Across the city, Candy sat collapsed on her bedroom floor, surrounded by photos, tiny grins, birthday candles, backpacks, back doors. Each one stabbed deeper. She lifted a shot of Ace on Todd's shoulders and whispered, "How did we fall this far?" "Why?" Suffocating. Photographers lined the hall, flashes cracking like lightning. Riley flanked her mother with unblinking resolve, jaw locked, gaze fierce. Inside, Todd lowered himself into his chair alone, posture stiff, expression sealed off. He never glanced at Candy. It felt like a concrete barricade had been erected between them. Tall, brutal, permanent. The judge entered, face cold and unmoving, and the tension exploded. Candy's attorney began, voice a controlled blaze. "My client has endured nationwide humiliation, emotional devastation, and a media battlefield. These children, 2 innocent souls, are being dragged into speculation by one man's buried fear." Todd shifted slightly, but spoke nothing. His lawyer stood, deliberate and calm. "My client seeks clarity. There are documented inconsistencies that raise legitimate concern. This isn't an attack on the children. This is a pursuit of truth." Candy's breath faltered. She rose without being called. "Truth? You think this is truth?" Her voice fractured mid-sentence, then pushed forward. "You're tearing them apart. You're tearing me apart. You're tearing your own soul to pieces. How do you pretend this is justice?" Todd finally lifted his gaze. For the first time in days, their eyes locked, and the crack in his expression struck her like a physical hit. He murmured, "Nothing feels true anymore." The room drowned in silence. A heavy, airless stillness settled over everyone. The judge cleared his throat sharply. "Emotion will not interfere with formal procedure," he ruled. Then came the blindside no one anticipated. A Bravo delegate stood. "The court should be informed. Additional unaired footage exists." The room froze solid. She continued, material showing disputes, concerning behavior, and remarks from prior seasons that may be relevant to today's proceedings. Candy's heart crashed downward. Her voice thinned. "You're weaponizing old episodes." That was producer shaping. "A storyline, not real life," Todd murmured under his breath, almost uncertain. Or maybe it was. The judge demanded a summary. The representative stated, "There is a particular recorded moment, never released, where Candy, in a late-night confessional, was asked whether Ace favors Todd. Her response was complicated." Candy's knees quivered. Riley watched her closely. The rep continued. She answered, word for word, "Sometimes fatherhood isn't defined by DNA." A tidal gasp tore through the courtroom. Todd's jaw tightened. Candy clutched the edge of the desk. Riley sobbed. "That's twisted." She meant love, family. It didn't matter. The fuse had already been lit. Within moments, the internet detonated. Clips leaked instantly. One showed Todd staring down softly, murmuring, "What if my fears were right?" Another captured Candy collapsing, begging, "Please stop destroying us." The world didn't flinch. Some insisted Todd looked broken. Some said Candy looked exposed. Some said the network was merciless. And some feared something darker was unraveling off-screen. That evening, Todd sat alone in a vacant garage, head lowered, shoulders quivering. "Not tears pressure," he whispered. "What if I destroyed everything for nothing?" Back home, Candy paced the hallway while Ace and Blay slept beyond a door. She cracked it open, watched their chests rise and fall, pressed her hand against her mouth. Her voice trembled through the phone. "I don't care what they say. I don't care what he thinks he knows. I know my truth. I know my boys." Her sister murmured comfort, but Candy barely heard anything. Elsewhere, producers weren't sleeping. They gathered at midnight, panic clashing with profit. Numbers were surging. So was outrage. Lines blurred. One warned, "If we broadcast this, the internet erupts." Another replied, "If we broadcast this, a family breaks." No one knew which was the greater disaster. Morning brought the bleakest twist yet. Another leak emerged, not from Bravo, not from a blog, but from within the courthouse. A sealed declaration, anonymous and explosive. It claimed that in their final year, Candy and Todd attended counseling, and in one session, Todd reportedly admitted feeling distant from the children by blood. Then came a second leak, a private text from Todd to someone close. "What if I'm raising somebody else's kids?" Candy saw it while sitting on her bathroom floor, half-dressed, half undone, the phone trembling in her grip. A scream tore through the room. Riley rushed in. "Mom, please stop. This is killing you." Candy collapsed into her arms, sobbing. How do I rebuild something he already shattered? Across town, Todd stood by his window, staring at a city that suddenly felt foreign. He whispered, "I don't know if I'm the monster or the casualty." And that was the moment the world understood. This wasn't a plot. This wasn't a show. This wasn't spectacle. This was a family bleeding on camera. And nobody had the tools to stop the bleeding. Now we're perched on a ledge no one knows how to climb down from. A family once held together by devotion, duty, and legacy is now dangling by a single fraying thread. And that thread thins with every leak, every whisper, every new allegation scorching its way across the internet. No matter your stance, no matter what you swear is true, one truth won't loosen its hold. Those children are caught in a storm they never called for, while the adults around them reload their wounds and fire them in public. This isn't headlines anymore. It's autopsy. One man unraveling under suspicion. One woman sinking beneath heartbreak. Two kids trapped between a truth no one can agree on and a lie no one can prove. Each hour, each alert, each courthouse rumor drags them closer to a future that could scar them for life. So here's the only question that matters. Not for spectators, not for stands, but for anyone still watching with a heartbeat. What if the test clears Todd? What if it destroys him? What becomes of a home when faith curdles into hostility? Because whatever